Howdy folks, growing tomatoes from seed is easy. You get some dirt, you whack a seed in, pour some water on top, and you're done. But there are some finer details that we can go over to make it even more successful. First things first, why are we growing them from seed? Well, you get a lot more variety from seed. You get all kinds of different interesting, strange flavors and colors and tastes and textures. It's fun, they taste a lot better. Tomatoes that you get in the supermarket just don't even come close. There's really nothing like picking your own sun-ripened tomato from the backyard. Nothing! The first thing to consider is, when do we plant our seeds? Now, we want to have 6 to 8 week old seedlings that are about 6 inches tall, ready to plant out after the last frost danger has passed. So figure out when your last frost date is for your local area, and then go back 6 to 8 weeks, and that's when you want to be planting your seeds. Next, what seeds do you want to plant? So the first thing you're going to see and be confronted with is there's 2 types of tomatoes. There's indeterminate and determinate. Indeterminate means they'll keep growing forever. They're basically vining tomatoes, and they'll keep growing up, keep sending out leaves and flowers and shoots, and it's just going to go for gold and go forever. For your indeterminates, you're going to need to provide some structure for them to grow on. The other type is determinate tomatoes. So those are bush tomatoes. They're going to grow to a certain size, they stop, and then they put all their energy into growing fruit. Generally speaking, also, people agree that indeterminate type of tomatoes are better tasting, and that's controversial, so your mileage may vary. Why not grow both? The next thing you need to decide is between heirloom tomatoes and hybrid tomatoes. An heirloom tomato is an open pollinated tomato that doesn't need human intervention to be pollinated, and its seeds will grow true to type. So if you save up your tomato seeds from those tomatoes and you plant them the next year, you're going to get exactly the same thing. So you're getting like older style tomatoes that are proven. You're getting all kinds of funky different shapes and colors and types, whereas hybrids are a cross between 2 tomatoes where they've taken the best characteristics from both and blended them together, and they've formed some kind of mega tomato. Generally they're more disease resistant, they're more consistent, and generally speaking it's agreed that they don't taste as good. But again, the same thing as determinate versus indeterminate. You don't have to choose between the 2, just grow both. And one of the final decisions you need to decide on is there's different shape categories basically. You got your beefsteaks, your big boys, you got your cherry tomatoes, little baby guys, you got your sauce or pasta tomatoes, thicker skinned, higher acid Italian mamas, and you have your kind of all-rounders. Your all-rounders are kind of your round classic ones you're going to get from the supermarket. Decide which one you want, or just do all of them. The next thing to consider is seed raising mix. So you need some good quality seed raising mix to put your little seeds in, so they're nice and cozy and warm and going to germinate well. So you can go to the local garden centre and get some, or you can make your own. I like to make my own because it's a lot cheaper, and you can bulk out large amounts of it as well. It's a mixture of 2 parts organic compost, 2 parts coconut coir, or you can use peat moss, although that's not that sustainable a resource, and 1 part sand, or I've used fine pumice in here. And you can throw in some worm castings, no more than 1 part. You can throw a little bit of vermiculite in there as well, no more than 1 part as well, and you get this nice fluffy stuff. Pre-dampen it, and you want your soil to be moist. Sorry, I know people hate that word, moist, but not wet, whatever the hell that means. So now that you've got your seed raising mix, now what you need is a container. So I'd recommend getting a container that's big enough for the tomato to live in for the whole 6 to 8 weeks that it's going to be inside. So you don't have to pot it up in between, because you don't want to upset the root ball if you don't have to. Something that's about like 3 to 4 inches deep is ideal. You can use old pots that you've had from previous purchases. This is a good size, 4 inches deep. Or you can get these like trays so you can go en masse. These are about 2.5 to 3 inches deep. This is going to be just deep enough that your 6 to 8 week tomato plant can survive in there without having to be potted up before it goes into the garden. So that's going to save you some time. You can use old yogurt bottles, you can use styrofoam cups, you can use old party cups, you can use old terracotta. Scrub out any pots that have been used previously. You want to rinse them in bleach or vinegar to kill off any nasty microbes, and then you're good to go. Okay, so it's time to plant your seeds. Okay, so I'm going to use this tray of 10. You're going to fill it up to the top loosely with soil, so we're not pushing down too much. Like that. Screed it off with your hand or with a stick or whatever. Now push down with your fingers. We're just pushing the air out here. We're not pushing down too hard, just nice and softly. Now, what you want to do is make some holes to plant your seeds into. We're going to plant 2 seeds per cell, and we're just going to go with whatever one turns out to be the stronger one. We're going to chop the other one off, mercenary style. Now, how deep do we plant the tomato seeds? So a general rule with seeds is that you plant them to a depth of twice their circumference. So, with my calipers, we measure around their belly. It's about 3 millimeters, and it's a disc, so I can double that to get the circumference and add a little bit more maybe. So that's about 7 millimeters, which is about 1/4 of an inch. Now what I like to do is get a nail to make them little holes, and I'm just going to mark off with my pen 7 millimeters so I can consistently get them to the correct depth. So I'll just mark it there. So now I know. So just put 2 holes in each cell, kind of close to the middle-ish. So now we're going to drop our seeds in. Tweezers is handy, because otherwise they kind of stick to your fingers, kind of annoying. So drop 1 seed in each hole, obviously, so that there's going to be 2 seeds per cell. Once these have both sprouted, we're going to choose which is the strongest one, and we're going to kill the other one. We're going to chop it off with scissors, because we only want the one strong one. Now, it can be tempting to try and save that weak one, you know, pull it out, or try and untangle the roots. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Forget about it. Just plant enough seeds that you don't have to worry about sacrificing your weaker one. Now we can kind of like lightly, very lightly, pinch it closed, pinch the little hole closed with our fingers. Just give them a little pat, not too hard, just nice and soft. And what we're going to do now is I have some vermiculite. You don't have to do this, but I prefer to do it. And just put like a thin, like kind of 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter layer of vermiculite on top. This keeps the moisture inside, so this is going to be good. To germinate, they really need to stay moist and warm. We'll give these a bit of a water, like that. What's most important at this stage is to give them a label, and always put the date on. That's going to be really handy. And so check a label in so you know what's going on. Make sure to do that straight away, otherwise you're going to lose track so easily. What we next need to do is get them into a nice warm environment. We need to keep the soil warm and moist for the germination period. So it needs to stay at around 25 degrees Celsius, and it needs to stay, the soil needs to stay moist. You can do that by misting it each day, or you can put like a cover over the top. Put over a layer of Glad wrap, put over a sheet of glass, put them on a heat mat, put a little cover over the top. You can get little baby glass houses to put your seedlings in, so that they stay humid and wet and warm. But they don't need light at this stage. There's no light required. Now, as soon as the greenery starts to pop up and you start to see seedlings coming through, do your little dance, but take your covering off. The covering is done now. No more covering after we've seen some of the seedling pop up. That's really important, because they can start to get moldy and yeah, no good. Cover off. They need as much light as possible for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Now, as it's winter, sunlight might not actually be able to do it, so a grow light is a really good idea. So fluorescent grow bulbs or something like that. But if you haven't got that kind of thing, just put them in the sunniest windowsill possible. Also, you're going to want to get some air movement there so that they don't get too leggy, so they stay stocky and strong. A fan is a good idea for that. And when it's getting closer to the time to plant them out, then you want to start thinking about hardening them off. Get them used to the outside conditions. They've been inside, chilling out, watching Netflix and staying warm. And now it's time for reality. And that means basically taking them outside. First time we take them outside, just take them outside for an hour, maybe a week before planting time. And every day take them outside for a little bit of a chill out if it's sunny and not too windy. Increase that over like the last week of their inside time. until they're out for like a few hours, and they're going to do a lot better once you plant them into their permanent spot in the garden if they're like hardened off. And now you're good to go. So in subsequent videos we'll talk about planting them out into the garden, into their permanent spot, because that's like a whole nother kettle of fish, and there's lots of good tips to share there. But for now, get your seeds in, get planting, experiment. The worst thing you can do is to have the soil too wet or too dry, and to plant the seeds too deep or too shallow. So if you've got your little measuring nail, 7 mil each deep, and keep the soil moist but not wet. If you do those two things, you're going to be sweet. So have fun with it, like and subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Tune in to check out the next installment. Thank you very much. Cheers guys.